Do you know what'll make you real thankful to have electricity? Not have it for about 48 hours while you're home with your kids. Oh my. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update as we are trying to thaw out the state of Texas right now. You know, I moved to Texas to avoid stuff like this, but somehow there's people in Alaska right now that are telling me, hey man, stay safe, stay warm. And I thought, yes, we did get a really bad storm here in Texas, and we did lose power for a few days, but you know what's really awesome is that books still work without power. However, was stuck here with my kids, and when the kids don't have any electronic devices, makes things a little difficult. But let's go ahead and talk about this week, guys, by dipping into what am I reading. I have some news. You guys remember last week where I said I had like buyer's remorse reading this? I'm gonna tell you guys a secret. I do not DNF books very often. You can go and look on Goodreads and see how many I have actually shelved. There's a few I put to the side to finish later, like The Witcher. I'm going to finish that later. The Aragon series, I'm going to finish that later. I've not quit on that. I DNF'd this, and you know what? It felt good. It felt really good. I don't know what happened to this series because the first book in this series is an all-timer. It is fantastic. It's superb. It is wonderful. And it doesn't even feel like I'm reading the same series anymore. So if you want a review for the Demon Cycle, don't. There you go, guys. There's my why you should not read The Demon Cycle by Peter Ridley. Do you want to know how bad The Skull Throne was? It led to me reading this. And I finished it. I went ahead and said, you know what? I'm just going to have something with low brain power before I dip back into Malazan. Why not? Why not? Let's see what happens. A viewer was nice enough to send it to me. And I said, sure, let's do it. Fake sticker. Fake sticker. Other than that, these covers are really gorgeous. Probably better than I could say for the actual material on the inside. Look, guys, it's about what you expect. I said that I know I'm not the target demographic for this, so I went into that knowing that. But I mean, yeah, it's all the same YA tropes that keep me from reading YA fantasy. Really, you know, the insta love, the love triangles. Everyone is super beautiful and handsome, and you know it's like a CW show. There are no ugly people. Just a lot of things where you just find yourself saying, in a real life situation, who would do this? You know, things like that. And the ending is one of the most craptastic things I've ever read in my life. But am I going to continue? I might. I'm trying to decide if I'm just going to review this one book or if I'm going to review this trilogy. Because look, one thing I will say for a YA book that I forgot is, first, it requires absolutely no brain power to read. Two, you can read it in a few sittings. Like I sat down to read this. I got to work a little early that morning, and I read it for like 20 minutes in the car, and then I read it for an hour of my lunch break, and I was at the 50% mark. So I was like, wow, okay. So yeah, finished that up real quick. But yeah, the first impressions, not so good, but that cleared the way for me, guys, over this time home. You know, working from home remotely, but then we lost power, so we couldn't even do that. So I decided, by candlelight, to start Deadhouse Gate. This is book number 2 in the read-along, and for those who don't know it, who are not doing the read-along or just haven't got sick of hearing me talk about it, yes, I did start reading this. Not that far, about 100 pages in. It is a heavy read. It's one of those things where, you knew going in that a lot of those characters that you got established in book 1, not going to be in this one. It's a whole other continent, a whole new set of characters. There are a few returning faces. I won't tell you who. But I've had somebody ask me, will you be doing more spoiler talks for that book since it's a bigger book? Depends if there's enough to talk about. I don't want to force it. I'm not going to do like I did with Rhythm of War, where I did a discussion for each part. That just became way too much. So I won't be doing one for each of the books inside the novel. I'd like to just stick to 2, like I did with Gardens of the Moon, but again, it just depends on how much there is to talk about. If I feel like I need to have a third one, maybe, then I'll go there, because I am still going to have the kind of the wrap-up one. I'm going to have Philip Chase, my personal favorite booktuber, on with me to talk Deadhouse Gates when I'm done with it. But as far as just like my spoiler talks, not sure. Just kind of depends on how we go. But yeah, what you heard is true. I'm not going to lie, it is disheartening to see so many people already kind of dropping out on the read-along. I expected that. I was hoping they would get at least through book 3, because I've had a lot of people tell me, Malazan veterans tell me, if you get through Memories of Ice, that's book number 3, and you aren't feeling it, it's not the series for you. But you need to get through at least the first 3. But, it is 3 big old daddies like that. And I will also tell people, life's too short. Don't spend time reading books that you aren't enjoying. Don't be afraid to put something down. It does kind of suck that you're not going to be with me for the next 2 years, because Malazan is the big name on that Mike's Book Reviews marquee, if there is one. That is the kind of the title that we're really going to be focusing on for the next 2 years. But again, like I always say, guys, do what makes you happy. Life's too short to read bad books, and there's so many good books that I haven't even got to read yet. That leads me into, what am I going to read? I am going to read book number 5 of ARRY Revelations. That is Wintertide. I'm not doing both right now, because look at this bad boy. Like I said, when I'm just doing something that's just a fit in, it wasn't originally on my schedule. I looked at it. Wintertide, that's book 5, is like 300 pages. Book 6 is promiscuous Persepliquous or something like that. It's 600 pages. So I'm probably just going to do 5, save 6 for when I've got some extra time, which if things hold the way they have, I will have some extra time. But again, I want to kind of make sure that I'm making Dead House Gates the priority for that is for the read along. And again, this is if I have time, but I am going to get in the rest of these Stieg Larsson books this year, because I really like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I really, really want to keep going. I wish I'd picked this up instead of Shadow and Bone. It was an impulse thing, It just happens that way sometimes. And that should take us through the end of February. Like I said, I expect really Dead House Gates probably take me through the end of February, because I've been reading for 2 days, and I'm like on page 98 right now. But again, reading when you're home with your kids with no power, and they want you to entertain them, reading a Malazan book is obviously not something that's going to be very easy to do there. So yeah, that's kind of a part of that. So I'm scheduling the rest of February to be for Dead House Gates, but like I said, if I need a break or something like that, maybe I'll pick up Wintertide, The Girl Who Played with Fire, something like that. We'll see. But yeah, that is obviously the priority before we roll into March and I get into the new Stephen King novel and the last Farseer trilogy book, which is Assassin's Quest. Let's talk about this week on the channel. It felt so good. You guys, I've had a lot of people tell me they could see the emotion and my passion in that video talking about A Song of Ice and Fire, because it's the first time I've really bust loose about A Song of Ice and Fire on this channel, because I really felt like I said, it felt like it got to the point where all people were making was videos raging about the TV show. And I was like, I want to kind of get the focus back to the books, because folks forget those books are badass. Yeah, it sucks that he hasn't kept writing them, but those books that are out are badass, and it was so much fun to talk about and argue and all those things. Stannis the Manus, I don't even care what you say, for life. Stannis is my dude. I don't even care. It was my favorite characters. Had a lot of people, how comes you don't have this character? Because it's my favorites, We want to talk about your favorites in the comments. That's what we're going to do. But it was really fun talking about A Song of Ice and Fire again. And I won't lie, it kind of backfired on me, because now I kind of maybe awoke some of that passion I had to see the series completed after I finally accepted it wasn't going to happen. But it's just hard not to, because it's just such amazing books that I really just dove into before the show was even a thing. I was so invested in that world, and it's just yeah, it was really fun going back and talking about some of the characters, even if I left a couple off that I was kind of reminded of in the comments. And that's going to happen when you have 10,000 characters in your books. It's just going to kind of happen. But I felt like I got most of the ones that I really liked on there, and only a few were controversial, I guess you'd say, which means it's against the grain. Did one review this week. That was for Kings of Paradise by Richard Nell, independent author. Sent me his book last year. No strings attached, so if you got time to read it, cool. If not, hey, enjoy the free book. And I wanted to make a point to read it because I'd heard it was very grimdark. I hear that a lot. Oh, that book's so grimdark, and you read it like, no, this is just nihilism. This isn't fun at all. I think that grimdark can be fun. Read Joe Abercrombie Grimdark. I'm laughing a lot while reading those books. Grimdark can be fun. It doesn't have to just be so bleak and so just dire that you cannot have any fun with it. But I will say this book was very grimdark. I wouldn't say I chuckled a lot, but I did say I felt like it was the most bleak, grimdarky kind of world I went to since Westeros or Adua from First Law. And that's a compliment I don't hand out lightly. So I recommend you guys pick it up. I look forward to continuing the series once I actually have acquired books 2 and 3. I haven't actually gotten them yet. But yeah, watch that review if you got a minute. And I love to help out. a self-published author who's really trying to make his way. Very, very, very good writer. And I think he's not going to stay, I don't want to say under the radar, but I mean, he's more than like a John Gwynn, who I said is under the radar, but like a lot more people are knowing about him now. I think this guy's too talented that he's just going to kind of stay unknown for long. But I urge you to pick up at least book 1 and see what you think, especially if you're into that brand of grimdark goodness. And then I ended the week with a little treat that I like to call books that made me cry. Now look, guys, like I said in that video, I'm not above it. Got no problems admitting when something got the emotion out of me. When I was a younger man, it didn't take much to get me there. And after I had kids, apparently it doesn't take much to get me there. So yeah, there were a handful of books that I was able to talk about. I was actually kind of surprised at the number when I actually went through it. But there's a difference between I'm missing up maybe 8-year-old and then there's a straight up like, oh my God, I'm snotting all over myself crying. And there are a couple of those on that list. I've enjoyed some of the comments in there of some of the books that have hit other people hard, because it's really made me not really just expand my TBR, which is always ever expanding, but just to see that there are other human readers out there, because there's so many guys that are still got to put on that macho facade of like nothing can make me cry, whatever. And a lot of people be like, well, what about movies? Dude, when it comes to movies, I'm even easier. Like I said, I can't even watch Lion King anymore. I just get all emotional. But yeah, that's just, it is what it is. Let's talk a little bit about next week's plans. I heard you guys. I heard you. You want the review for Royal Assassin. I heard you. It's going to happen, okay? I think last week's weekly update, I said you guys let me know if you're interested in me reviewing every single Robin Hobb book as I went along, and it was a resounding yes, we want that. So, hey, I've got no problems talking about Farseer because it's been really bloody good, 2 books in so far, and these are the books that people tell me aren't that great. So yeah, I have no problems talking about this. I'm just glad this is something that you guys want. I was kind of trying to get away from the reviewing individual non-spoiler books for series, things like that. I feel like I can open up a spoiler talk for something later if I want to do that. But yeah, I'll do that for Farseer, and then when I get to finishing each trilogy, I'll kind of do like a spoiler talk wrap up. That's kind of my plan at the moment. So I've got no problems going all in on Realm of the Elderlings if that is material that you guys want to see. I am a man of the people, the people's champion, you might say. If that's what you guys want, that's what I'm going to do. Something that I think will be kind of fun, and something I wanted to do a while back. I just kind of, after I finished Wheel of Time, I was like, I need to get away from that for a bit, because I've done more Wheel of Time videos on this channel than I've done Stephen King videos, and that's hard to believe. But yes, I am going to talk some Wheel of Time next week. And it's just going to be something simple. Don't get excited. I'm just going to talk about the covers, because there are some historically bad and some really good ones in that series. I want to talk about ranking the covers for the Wheel of Time. So, you can start your speculation now. If you've been watching the channel for a while, I'm pretty sure you know my least favorite and my favorite. But hey, let's check out everything in between. And I'm thinking that that's going to kind of lead to some more Wheel of Time content I've got here planned in the future. And some of it might not go over well. But hey, wheelies are always mad at me. So what's one more thing? Then I'm going to do another Why You Should Read next week. And the books that made me cry was one that made me think about doing this. I'm going to talk about why you should read Harry Potter. Yes, it's one of those things where you're like, everybody's read Harry Potter at this point, right? There are surprisingly a large number of people I know who have not. And they think, you know what? I'm too old now. It's kind of like what I told a friend a while back. He was like, he's like my age, and he was like, actually, he's about 10 years younger than me. Hang on a second. And he said, I never watched Princess Bride. Would I like it now? Is it something that's just nostalgia? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because I remember I showed my wife The Goonies when we were dating, and I was like, oh, this is a great movie, you're going to love it. And she was just like, that's not that great. And I realized, yeah, nostalgia is a hell of a thing. But then he watched Princess Bride, and he was like, this is fantastic, I love it. So I was like, there's some things that are timeless. And rereading Harry Potter with my kid, look, yeah, if you're used to reading big, heavy, crazy, epic fantasy like this, you might be like, yeah, Harry Potter's kid stuff. Sure, it is. But you know what, man? It's not like I'm telling you to read this. It's still quite charming. And I'm really enjoying the reread with my son. So I'm going to talk about not only why you should read if you haven't, but also I'm tired of all this revisionist history of people who read Harry Potter back in the... Look, the world stopped when that last book came out, and it didn't happen because nobody bought it. So all these people that are acting like, I was never really into Harry Potter, but I love Percy Jackson. All right, look, we're going to talk about why I think it's perfectly fine to still love Harry Potter, even though you've grown up now. Okay, so that's really what that why you should read is going to be about. I've wanted to talk about for a while, rereading it with my kids. It really made me just remember how much I love that world. Yeah, it's nothing crazy. It's just a good time, and I'm having a great time rereading those books with him, and I just want to talk about that wizarding world once again. That's all I got for books this week, guys. There are a few TV and movie things I want to talk about here. We got a new trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League, or Snyder Cut, or whatever they're calling it this week. I think it's just called the Snyder Cut, isn't it? Here's my thing with it. I saw a lot of people in the Discord were just like, yeah, it looks like the same bad movie. Here's what I think it'll be. I think it'll be like the ultimate edition of Batman v Superman, which made it a decent movie. It took it from a bad movie to a decent movie. Nothing I'd call great, but it made it watchable, and it was good. I would have been like, okay, I wouldn't have been as mad leaving the theater if that was the version I saw. I think that's what this will do. I think it'll just get to the point where it's like, yeah, it's a lot more of like Batman v Superman. If you love that aesthetic, if you love that feel, that version of these characters, you'll probably like it much better than you like that theatrical version of Justice League. So I'm not expecting a lot. And guys, I'm such a DC fan. I just don't like this variation of these DC characters because these aren't the characters I grew up reading. And they keep benching my dude Green Lantern. Like, everyone's in this movie now except Green freaking Lantern. And then I heard even if it wasn't going to be Hal Jordan. Well, Hal Jordan's my guy, okay? So, yeah, I'm always going to be stumping for Hal Jordan. And it just seems like just because of that awful movie they made a decade ago, they're like scared of Green Lantern now. And it's like, man, Marvel made a really bad Hulk movie. 5 years later, they made another Hulk movie that was mediocre, but it wasn't as bad, right? But that's MCU talk will really always get you there. But I don't know why they're so scared of Green Lantern. Such a great character. But they're talking about this crazy world that they want to make on HBO Max, and they believe they want to make a Green Lantern Corps series on there. And I hope that they would find a way to put Hal Jordan in that. I know they want Jon Stewart to be their guy. That's fine. I get that. He was very popular on the cartoon. I love all the Green Lanterns, okay? But Hal Jordan's my guy. Hal Jordan and Kilowog, those are my dudes. So I want to see that. But HBO Max is doing a new version of Hellblazer, from what I understand. First, I was optimistic, and then I heard the word J.J. Abrams. I said, oh boy. Apparently, he's going to do a new version of John Constantine, and it's going to wrap into Justice League Dark, which Constantine is a member of, obviously. I would love them just to do Hellblazer, the comic, Garth Ennis version, with Swamp Thing in there. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. Basically, guys, if you've never read Hellblazer, imagine imagine Harry Dresden, but he smokes and cusses a lot. Yeah, that is Hellblazer. I love that series so much. One of my favorite comics of all time. And I would love to see it adapted faithfully. I thought Matt Ryan was a great pick when they did the Hellblazer series. But it just, if you watch that series, it wasn't any good. Because it was on network TV. It's not a network TV kind of series. I'm just going to stop myself there because I'm just being a big Debbie Downer about all this stuff. And I try not to be that. I try to be the positive guy. But I'm just so heartbroken about what has become of my DC superheroes. And I also feel like they've kind of poisoned the brand at this point. And it's so depressing. But, Superman told us we got to keep hope, right? So I'm going to kind of try to do that. Something I'm hoping for is that one day I will be able to do some things where I pass stuff down to my kids. Like one of the things my dad passed out to me, and that was the love for the Western. Now, he used to watch all those old like John Wayne Westerns and stuff like that. And I was like, whatever. But then he showed me these Sergio Leone movies, The Man with No Name, starring Clint Eastwood, and I was absolutely enthralled. Even back then, I was all about the anti-hero, about the morally gray character. And I think that's why that series really just clicked with me so much as a kid. And to the fact where I watched it numerous times, that whole trilogy, over, God, I wore those VHS tapes out. And when it finally came out in DVD in like 2000 or something like that, I bought those. And I watched them, and I loved them just as much. Here's the thing. I hadn't watched them since then. And I got the Blu-rays like about, 7-8 years ago when they first came out in Blu-ray. And I never watched them. And then we were on the Discord server last week. We were talking about like favorite film trilogies, which might be an off the books here someday, just letting you know. And one of mine that I listed was The Man with No Name. And I was surprised at the feedback that a lot of other people like those as well. And obviously it's a very popular series for a reason. It's just, it seems like everybody on the Discord tells me that I'm old. Like when I talk about movies. But I started rewatching those, and I'm just blown away by not just how finely they've aged, how well that transfer to Blu-ray is. They look brand new. But oh my God, the music is still just so damn majestic. I always say his name wrong, Ennio Morricone, I think. The music is iconic. I have a 3 CD set. It's just called the Westerns or something like that of Ennio Morricone. And it's got basically all of the Man with No Name trilogy, but also has like Once Upon a Time in the West and things like that. All those spaghetti westerns that he did, tunes that you would probably recognize. Who doesn't know? Right, everybody knows that. Everybody knows this. So I'm just blown away by how well those movies have aged and just how respectful it seems like. High regard people hold that in of all generations and stuff. And so I try showing my kids some. He's only made it through the first part of Fistful of Dollars. He liked the part about I don't like you laughing at my mule. He gets a crazy idea you're laughing at him. But he'll just kind of be sitting there like on his tablet or something. Whenever there's a gunfight, he has to look up and watch, and he can't look away. So I understand that's something that's going to come with time. They have so many more options now than we had as kids, right? I do have a gaming talk thing real quick. Nintendo Direct had their show today, I guess, because since there's no E3 anymore due to the virus that shall not be named, a lot of the shows are they just debut trailers for all their new games. And one of them they released was that they are doing a re-release of Zelda Skyward Sword. Now, this is a game that is one of the Zelda games that I list as just a huge disappointment, just massive. And it isn't for the reason that most people think. A lot of people said the game with the pacing issues, it was directionless, it just didn't feel like Zelda, things like that. I didn't really have that much of a problem with it. What I didn't like was the stupid motion controls. Look, I thought that I was totally old man get off my lawn with that system. I did not like them. The motion controls were okay. What I wanted them to do was make them optional. Don't make that the only way you can play the game. And when you have a Zelda game, and this is to jab, and this is to block with your shield, and he always seemed to do the opposite of what you were trying to get him to do. And it made the game just frustrating. So I never even finished it. I felt like that was just them trying to sell another controller. Because Nintendo, they love to accessorize. They love to get you with those accessories. But they're re-releasing it on the Switch now. HD, which means that they brighten the colors. That's probably it. But they're making it optional now with the motion controls. You can still use the Joy-Cons and do that if you want, but now you can actually use the buttons. So I'm thinking that will definitely be something I might like to try again. And my kid is a Zelda maniac, so of course he will be all about another Zelda game to play. We busted out the GameCube this week and playing Ocarina of Time after I did my off the books on it. He was real interested. That's the first video of mine he's ever watched, by the way. The one talking about video games. How about that? But guys, that was my week. I hope everyone is staying safe and staying warm no matter where you are. Let me know, guys, what you are reading, listening to, watching, or playing. There are no wrong answers. And have you guys a safe weekend.